We're on the bottom of Mem Ches Amud Aleph. By the Tashma, 3 lines from the bottom. And we're still discussing the Shita of Rav and Shmuel, that when you have Yisaimim that are coming to claim a debt from other Yisaimim, they say it depends on who died first, whether the parents of the Malva or the parents of the Loiva, the father of the Malva or the father of the Loiva died first. They say if the father of the Loiva died first, so at that point, the Malva himself, if he wants to collect from the Yisaimim of the Loiva, he's going to have to make a Shavuos, right? The Shavuos, there's a Memches Amud Aleph on the bottom. If that the Yisaimim you can't collect from Yisaimim without a Shavuos. So the Malva is mechuyev to make that Shavuos that he did not collect, that he directly did not collect. We say, according to Rav and Shmuel, that Shavuos cannot be made when he dies, when the Malva dies, his Yisaimim cannot make that same Shavuos. They don't know for sure that he wasn't paid. They can only make a Shavuos. As far as they know, they were never told by their father. They can only make a partial Shavuos, Shavuos Yarshim. So according to Rav and Shmuel, since they can't make the Shavuos that was already incumbent on the father, therefore, in that case, where the Loiva died first, Yisaimim will not get paid. They cannot get compensated. They can't collect the loan from the Yisaimim of the Loiva. Zok the Gemara, Toshma, Avu Yarshav Mashbian Oisev Es Yarsha Vesaboim Bershusa. This is talking about a specific case of somebody who told his wife, he said, when you're going to come, this is a very romantic gesture he made. He said, if you're ever going to come to be goiva your ksuba for me, I want you to know I'm not going to require you to make a shvua. Now, that shvua obviously can only apply to him. That waiver can only apply to him. He can't impose it on other people. So we say if he died, I'm sorry, yeah. If he died, if the man died, the husband died, and now his yarshim are being asked to pay the ksuba, mashbiyan oisav es yarshav es aboim bershusa. Even though the husband had said he waives the right to get a shvua from her when she collects, but if his yarshim are the ones who are being collected from, they can say, no, we want the shvua, whether it's the wife who's coming to collect it, or if she died, her children are coming to collect the ksuba. Ksuba is a shtar. It means that, he's mechuyev to give her money. Or even if she had sold the ksuba, they can also ask that they have to make a shvua. Again, they're going to make the same shvua of the yarshim, that they don't know what's going on, that as far as they know, it wasn't paid. So in any case, we see that it comes down to that where both the husband and the wife died, that her yarshim are coming to collect from his yarshim. And we're saying the yarshim of the father, of the husband, can impose on the yarshim of the wife that they have to make the shvuas yarshim. L'chayr, this is not like Rav and Shmuel. Amar of Shmaya Litzdaden Gadani. I was very assiduously avoiding saying exactly why he was paying the ksuba. So he says it depends why the ksuba is being paid. Oisa ba'almana. We said that either she or her yarshim can be required to make a shvua. So we said she makes a shvua. That's talking about where the husband died. So that means the husband died first, and there in this case he's the loiva. He's the person who owes the money, and therefore it's a problem according to Rav and Shmuel. But I'm sorry, he is the payer. He's the malva. I'm sorry, he's the one who owes the no, he's the loiva. So we're talking about where she is an almana that he died first, Let me check this. I'm good. Isa one is a Rashi. Tani Yarsha Mashbian Isa that the Yarshim can require his Yarshim can require her to make Mesugma Afilu Balmana. Aval Vashishak done Mikla Ravashon Begrusha. That's Chayav looks. Oh, so yeah. So when can they require a Shvua? Yeah, because that's the the almana herself can make a shvua. She's the almana herself. Without that, we don't have this problem at all. It's only by her yarshim that we have this issue. So almana is talking about taka where he died first, and therefore it doesn't make a difference that he died first because she could just make her shuas the shvua of someone who owes money. But the yarshav, where she died, um, is talking about Yersha Begrusha. That's talking about where she was a Megureshes. And she died first before the husband. So there was never a time that she was mechuyev to make a shvur. There wasn't any yarshim. The whole issue only comes about. Rav and Shmuel's issue is only when the loiva dies first. And like we said, in this case, the husband is the loiva. But we're talking about it here. He was Megarisha, so she became entitled to the ksuba. So then there's no shvur, right? They're both there. She could just collect it without a shvur. Then she died, so her yarshim stepped into her place, and they could make. They can. There's still no shvur on their behalf. They're not extending to the mother's shvur, and then the mother died, and now there's yarshim. So this is a case where the Malva died first, and therefore we're not going to have the problem of Rav and Shmuel. Masav Rav Nasan Bar Hoshia. That's another kash on Rav and Shmuel. We were on the bottom, the last line of Mchesam and Al. Yava koyach haben mikoyach ha'av. The son, a Yasim, who's coming to collect, is better than the father. Sheben goyve bein b'shvua bein shaloi b'shvua. The father only is gaiva with shvua. Hechidami. What does this mean? What does it mean that the child can be gaiva with a shvua without, and the father needs to make a shvua? Zaktumara, the meis loiva b'chayim malva. So it must be uktani. It must be talking about where we're saying that av is ein gaiva ela b'shvua. We're talking about the loiva died while the malva was alive. And now the Malva is coming to be Gaiva, so he has to make a Shvua. That's the regular Shvua from being Gaiva from Yisayim. And then Uktanisha ben Gaiva, ben b'Shvua, ben Shaloi b'Shvua. And we said that the ben could be Gaiva, sometimes with a Shvua and sometimes without a Shvua. B'Shvua, ben Shaloi b'Shvua, Shvua is Yarshim. Shaloi b'Shvua. So when we say that he's gaiva with shvua, it's talking about when he's gaiva with shua's yarshim. That when he's coming to be gaiva from the yisam, when the yasim is gaiva from another yasim, he has to make the shua's yarshim, which is not like Rav and Shmuel. We're saying he could make a shvua. And shaloi b'shvua, Reb Shimon Gamliel, we had said in the Mishnah, there was a machlokes. Reb Shimon Gamliel says that this shua's yarshim is not. You don't always have to make it. If the father before he died said that that this loan was not paid up, then the Yosef doesn't have to make a shvur that he didn't find amongst his effects a star or a receipt. That's enough according to Reb Shimon Gamliel. So that's how you have b'shvur shloi b'shvur will depend on whether the circumstances that Reb Shimon Gamliel says that the shvuas yarshim is not necessary will apply. So that will be pater him from the shvuas yarshim. But l'chayra, that would be the only way to understand this brisa, this memra of this brisa. So l'chayra, it's not like Rav and Shmuel. Rav Yosef Hamani Beis Shammai. Gemara says this brisa is going to Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai altogether doesn't hold like Rav and Shmuel. The Amri Shtar Oimet Ligvis Kagavi Dami. They say a star that Oimet Ligvis is Kagavi Dami. So when the loiva died, when the case of the Yisaimim, we can give him Yisaimim. Even if the Leiva died first, at that point, the star that the father is holding makes it as if he already got the money. So therefore, it's not applicable. He still has to make a shvuah, but it's as if it's already in his possession. So you can't say on that the children have to make a shvuah. They lose because if they can't make a shvuah, they lose their rights to the money. Since the money is already considered to be in the possession of the father, if the children are unable to make the shvuas yarshim, then Rav and Shmuel would have never said their din if they held like Beis Shammai. They were saying in Beis Hillel, who says the shtar ha'omed likvus is lavka gavi dami. The Rav and Shmuel's din would never have applied if one holds that shtar ha'omed likvus is a gavi dami, because the money they're already the possessors. Then it's ha'maitzim mechaver levaraya from these yisaimim. They're the muhsan. Iklar of Nachman l'sura. Rav Nachman came to Surah Ola Gabe Rav Chizda, Rabba bar Rav Huna. Now, if you remember, Rav Nachman had paskened like Rabbi Yossi, not like Rav. They had paskened like Rabbi Loza. They paskened not like this whole Rav and Shmuel was only if you didn't hold like Rabbi Yossi, that we say Yachloiku. Nachman had paskened Yachloiku in the Mishnah when you have this case of Yisem that are coming to be Goyim. He said, let's go and be misakin to undo the shita of Rav and Shmuel. If you remember from the Gemara before, Rav Nachman did not want to be Eiker Rav and Shmuel. He felt that they were too chashav to undo their psak. Amalhu. You're all coming to try to be Ma'aika Rav Shmuel. I'm not willing to do that. All I'm going to say is that the din of Rav and Shmuel cannot be added on to. You can't add on to their din. That means that in the specific circumstance that Rav and Shmuel said their din, where you have a Malva and a Loiva that both died and the Loiva died first, that we say, in that case, the Yisaimim of the Malva cannot be Goiva. They're going to lose their chance since they can't make the Shvuah. But any other similar case, we're not going to apply the din of Rav and Shmuel. We're leaving it in place out of covet for them, or because they were the Gedolei Adar and they paskin, so we don't overturn it, but we limit its application. What's an example of something that we wouldn't apply that din? The Amra Papa, someone who we've come across this before, like when a woman admits that part of her ksuba was already paid, it's called the paigim mishtari, who basically puts herself in the position of being a maidav mixus, umeis, and then she died. Yarshin is born shvuas yarshim in Eitland. The yarshim can go make a shvua and take it. So this is someone who's the shvua comes not because of what do you call it? Because she's come to be gaiva from Yarshim, but rather it's coming because she was a Maida Mixus. So Midrabanan, she has to make a shvu in that case. So we say the Yarshim Ishban Shvuas Yarshim and Neidlin. They can make a Shvuas Yarshim in spite of the fact, according to Rav and Shmuel, technically they shouldn't be able to be. They said a rule that you can't Yarshim Yisem cannot be Meirish the Shvua and say a Shvuas Yarshim in place of the regular Shvua. But that's only, we said, by a loiva and a malva. But this case where the shvua is because of ma'ida b'mixus, it's not going to apply. Hahu shachiv, the shavik arva. There was someone, a loiva, who died. So we had the regular case of Rav and Shmuel, where there was both the loiva died and the malva died. And now the Yisaimim of the Malva coming to be given the Yisaimim of the Loiva, and the Loiva had died first. But he had left over, in addition to his Yisaimim, he also left over a guarantor. He wanted to say, in this case also, you're not going to apply the din of Rav and Shmuel, because this is distinct. You're not collecting from Yisaimim, you're collecting from an Arv. Amalei Amalei Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua, Rav Papa, Atu Arva La Basa Yazmi Asmi. He said, no, this is really the same thing as Yisayim, because if the loiv is gonna go, if the malva is gonna go collect rather from the Yisayim, he'll go collect from the Arev, from the guarantor, then after the Arev has to pay up, he's gonna go back to the Yisayim and ask them to pay. So then therefore, since it's ultimately going to end up by the Yisayim, the Takana of Rav and Shmuel will apply, and these Yisayim cannot be goiva without the Shvuah, and therefore they're not going to be able to collect. In the end, you're collecting from the other person's Yisayim, so therefore they're not allowed to collect since they can't make a Shvuah. Huda Shacha v'Shavak Acha. There's another case of someone who a loiva died, and he left over. I'm sorry. Yeah. No. This is talking about the Malva died, and he left over a brother. And it's talking about the regular case of Rav and Shmuel, where the Loiva had died first. But instead of leaving over Yisayimim, he left over a brother. A brother was the Yerush. This is also different than the original case. He said, no, this is not. This is a distinction without a difference. Whether it's a Yasim, a child, or a brother, they could still make the same Shavuos Yarshim, and it's still going to apply, and therefore, again, this brother is not going to be able to be Gaiva. Amr of Chama. Since we haven't said the halacha, whether it's like Rav and Shmuel or the chalkim on them, like Rabbi Lazar, Hi Daina the Avid Karav Shmuel Avid, the Avid Rabbi Lazar Avid, like we'll see in the Gemara in a second. You can do whichever one you did buy is okay, but the Gemara is going to show in a second that what we really mean is that the halacha is really like Rav and Shmuel, but if you do like Rabbi Lazar, we're not going to overturn it. Amra Papa, Hi Shtara the Yasmi, Loy Mikra Karina Leva Loy Gvuya Magbinim Be. If you have a star Yisayim, according to Rav and Shmuel, and now they're coming to collect from the other Yisayim and the Loiva died first, you don't rip it up, but you can't use it to be Gaiva. You can't be Gaiva because maybe you hold like Rav and Shmuel. Or Mikoloi Karinale, the High Dana, the Avid Krebalaza of it. If someone were to use that star to be Gaiva, we would taka paskin. We wouldn't stop it. We would allow it to go through. So you see the way we say it differently. The Rav and Shmuel, we say that maybe we hold like Rav and Shmuel, maybe we paskin like them, but Rebbe Lazar, just if we do it like that, it's okay. How daina the Avid Rebbe Lazar? There was someone who paskin like Rebbe Lazar, not like Rav and Shmuel. Havatzubim Rabbanan b'Masei. There was a Talmud Chacham in the neighborhood. Amalei, I see na igris samei marava the less Rebbe Lazar. I'm going to bring you a letter that says that we don't pass on like Rabbi Lazar. Amalei l'chitaisi. He says, when you bring it, I'll deal with it. Also, l'kamei de Ruchama. So the Sumra and Abana went to Ruchama to try to get the letter. Amalei, hi dainu David Rabbi Lazar of it. No, if you do like Rabbi Lazar, it's not nishta zay gefalach. So again, we said in the Mishnah, the elu nishboyin shaloi b'taina. These are the people that come and make a shvuah in spite of the fact that there's no taina. Hashutfin, va'arisim, va'apatropin, va'isha, noises, va'noises, b'sei chabayis, u'ben habayis. We gave a bunch of examples of people who are financially involved, and as the Gemara is going to explain, because they're financially involved, they have a lot of control. They have to make a shvuah, even though there's not a taina on the other side saying that you did something wrong. But since they're obviously in a very delicate, they have a lot of control over the situation, we require a shvuah from them. What are we talking about? We're saying that they should make a shvuah even though nobody said they did anything wrong. What is that? Why would they make a shvuah if no one's coming to bring them to ask them for a shvuah? When we say that they make a shvuah without a taina, it means without a certain taina. That means if the Yisayim or the Shutef says, I want you to make a shvuah, I'm not sure what's going on, but I want you to make a shvuah to confirm that you didn't take anything, they have to make a shvuah derabah. Hashutvan v'harisin, Tana, ben bayis she'amru, lo shenichnas v'yoytze b'raglov. This that we say, a ben bayis, someone who is the child who is in charge of the house. That means he's the Yerush who is the executor of the estate. Doesn't mean that he goes in and out. That he's around. He has authority to buy and sell and be in charge of all the affairs of the state. Why are all of these? What's the reason why they have to make a shvuah? Because since I'm working so hard for the estate, or I'm working hard for the shutvis, or I'm working hard for this guy's field, they might have to lots, but they say I'm really deserve to get more. That's why they have to make a shvuah. Amrav Yosef ben Yumi, Amrav Nachman, Bushi yesh taina beinayu shtei kesef. There has to be a minimum taina of shtei kesef. Like we always say that a moedah mixes. We saw before from the Mishnah that it has to be a taina of shtei kesef, a minimum of 2 ma'az of kesef. So he says that. Hello, sorry, I'm not sure what happened. My looks like my Zoom died for a second. Um, I'm not sure where you lost me, but I was explaining shtei kesef. You heard the part about
Yeah, yeah,
so
Ushish Taina.
we apply the din like that you have by Moedah B'Miksus. This derabanan din of the shvua of a shutef or ben bayis or any of these cases is modeled after the shvua of a Moedah B'Miksus, and a Moedah B'Miksus has to be a minimum of shtei or 2 ma'az of kesef. Command k'shmuel. This is like Shmuel that was saying the taina. Shmuel, if you remember, there's machlekes whether it has to be the original taina was of 2 kesef, or if it has to be that the part that he's being kaifer is 2 kesef. Latani Rav Chia l'siyul Rav. Rav Chia brought a brisa to prove that Rav is correct. A makfiris taina karav. You have to say kfiris taina by shtei kesef, not taina, because we talk a passing like Rav that the kfira of what he's denying has to be 2 ma. Cholku hashutvin v'ha'arisim. So the Mishnah continues and says, if they came to an agreement and they divided up the shutef and the aris and they're already done, then there's no more shvuah. That means once it's done, then the shvuah is done. But we said you can be megalgal a shvuah if they're making a shvuah for a different reason. You can be megalgal a shvuah on them as well. Ibailu mal galgal b'derabanan. Can you make a gilgal? Are you still? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, because you're frozen. Ibailu mal galgal b'derabanan. What's the din to make a gilgal shvuah if the shvuah that you're making you want to be megalgal this stale, this old shutvis situation. You want to Yeah, what the Gemara is asking the Shaila, can you be megalgal a shvua if the shvua that you're using to be the shvua that you're coming now and you want to bring the old shutvis that is already over with to be make that shvua also to make a shvua on that as well? Can you do that even if this new shvua is the Rabban? Tashma. Loy ve'emenu erev shvius. We learned in our Mishnah that the if the Loiva borrowed from him before Shemitah. After Shemitah, then that loan is already mishumet. It's already it's dispelled by Shemitah. Nasalei shutafai aris. If he later becomes a shutaf or an aris, a megalgalin. You can't be megalgal the original shvua from before Shemitah on him because it doesn't make a difference. Even if you were to swear he's not mechuyev. The loan itself is gone, so you can't be megalgal. You can't make a shvu on something that there's no chiyev anymore. So our time of the loive heimenu erev shvius, it sounds like it's only because it was erev shvius. The as shvius afkate, because shvius came and got rid of the loan. Hashar shnei shvua. But if it wouldn't be before shvius. If it would be a live loan, and now he wants to be megalgal for a previous loan that already disappeared, that he had already, it was no longer able to make a shwanet, Magalgalin. So you see that even though this shvua is only a shvua derabanan, a shvua of a aris or a shvua of a shotif, you can use that as a fulcrum to be megalgal a second shvua on it. So Gemara, late time a harshash shvua megalgal. You say no. The proper inference from the fact that we said it's only when it's before Shavuos, before Shemitah, where the halva was before Shemitah, is not to say that, but the rest of the times you could be megagal. Ela ema nasale shutav. If you were to reverse the whole case, if you would nasale shutav aris erev shvius, if he was a arav or a shutav before shvius, ulamoitzoy shvius leiva, and then he borrowed after shvius. So the din of shvu of shutafai aros is not a din of it's not a halva. It's a chiyuv that you had a deal. A shutaf is mechayiv. They have to split the profits, and he wants him to make a shvua that he split the profits properly. It's not a halva. It's not a debt. So that does not get affected by shmita. So if it was the other way around, that the halva was after shmita, and he has to make for whatever reason he has to make a shvua because of the halva, then he can also be megalgal the shvua from before Shemitah. And they said, and then the shvua on the halva after Shemitah could be a shvuas moed mitzvah, could be a deraisa dik shvua. So we don't have a raya on this question. So the Gemara, habehedzik tanila nasa leishutavay aris erev shvius l'motzei shvius levei and megalgalin. You can't say that the inference is to tell us this then because the Bryce itself tells us this then directly. So l'chari, your way of avoiding this as being a raya is not good. Shmamina megalgal nerabanan shmamina. So we're forced to say that this is tackle what you could see from this Bryce. You can be megalgal with the shua deraban. Amar Rav Huna l'chol megalgalin chutz misacher she'em megalgalin. We make a gilgal shvua from any shvua derabanan, like we just said. However, the shvua of a sacher, someone who was a hired laborer, and he is coming to get paid by his boss, that can't be the basis for a gilgal shvua, because that's specifically, like we said before, because the boss can get confused about whether he paid someone or not. So it's only under those specific circumstances that shvua applied, and therefore it's not it's not similar to other shvuas that you can use it as a basis to be magagal other shvuas in it. Rav Chizda Amar l'chol ein makilin. On all shvuas, we're not makel, meaning that if you have a shvua derabanan, you use it as a basis to be magagal other shvuas. Chutz misacher to makilin, but if the shvua of a sacher, the shvua derabanan of a sacher, we are makel that we don't use it to be magagal other things. My benayu, they're both in the end they're saying the same halacha. So the question is whether you say we suggest, the Bezdin suggests that you should make this be megalgal shvuas on it. According to Rav Huna, who says that we are megalgal shvuas. So then what he's saying with megalgal shvuas means that it has the same din of every shvua, and Bezdin will suggest it. But according to Rav Chizda, who called it mekilin, that we're makel in the shvuas derabanan, that we allow them to be megalgal, but that doesn't go so far as to allow us Bezdin to suggest it. So we already quoted Ashrias Mishametes. We said that Shvias is Mishamet, that you don't, if you have a chiv to make a shvua, once shvius comes, that chiv shvua goes away. That just like shvius takes away the chiv to pay the loan, it also takes away the dibur of the loan. Dvar shmita, it takes away the chiv shvua that comes with the loan. Zok the Gemara. I know it's already a half hour.
Gidol thing. What's this pasuk saying? What's he?
Pasuk is saying afilu dvar shmita. This is the pasuk says v'zed dvar shmita, and then it goes on to say that at the end of 7 years that loans get canceled. So we say in addition to the loans being canceled, a chiyuv of shvua that was there because of a loan that was prior to Shemitah, the loan, or the Shvuah, the Chiv Shvuah also gets canceled. The Dvar means words. It means the words of Shemitah, the words, the Shvuah of a loan also gets canceled, is Meshumit by Shemitah, not just the loan itself. Now, one would say, well, like we said before, what's the point of having a Shvuah if there's no loan underlying it? So what do you need a pasuk for this for? I mean, that thought certainly did occur to me. But
I'm saying, I'm not even sure. It cancels feel Diba Mishemetis, like in what way? What's practical? Like, what is it?
that means, let's say someone had borrowed money a week before Shemitah,
Yeah.
and it became due, and he was Maidav a Mixus. So now he's mechuyev a shvu. He's mechuyev to make a shvu, and then Shemitah comes. So now the loan is gone. So maybe he still has to make a shvu that he's not mechuyev to pay it. So that the pasuk is telling you that just like the loan is disbanded, is canceled, so his chiyuv to make a shvu is also canceled. Okay, this mission is long, but it's very quick because it's very repetitive, extremely repetitive mission. Sagt der Mishnah, Arba Shaimim Hein. Shemechinam v'hashayil neisusacha v'haseicha. There are 4 types of Shaimim. Now, let's just remind ourselves, this Mishnah, even though it sounds like it belongs in Bava Kama, is really talking about the Shvuah of a Shaimer. Shvuah a Shaimer, where if someone denies that he owes a Pikadon, if he later admits that he lied about owing the Pikadon, he has to pay Karen Chaimish V'Yashim. Because if he made a Shvuah and then he admits that he lied in that Shvuah, denying a Pikadon, the Torah said that he's mechuyev to pay Karen Chaimish V'Yashim. And that's what we're talking about in this Mishnah. We're talking about under what circumstances will Shomrim be mechuyev that Shvuah. Even though it's not mentioned clearly in the Mishnah, but it'll become, at the end it will become clear. So there are 4 Shomrim. Shemechinam Hashem Neisusacha V'Haseicha. Shemechinam, so Shemechinam, as we know, is only chayiv for pshia. He's not chayiv for gneva v'aveda, and he's not chayiv for einsim. So shemechinam nishbal hakoil, v'ashayil mishalem es hakoil. The shayil, on the other hand, is mechuyev not just on pshia and gneva v'aveda. He's even mechuyev for einsim. Neisasacha v'aseicha nishboyin al shvur v'al shvur v'al mesa. They make a shvuah to pata themselves on if they say the thing broke, or it was captured, or if it died normally. So all those things are einsim. So they make a shvuah and they're pater. Umishalman is aveda v'sagneva. But a shemech sacher and a seicher are mechuyev to pay if it was gneva v'aveda. Okay. Amal shemechinam heichen shairi. So the first we're going to go through the din of a shemechinam. If someone said to a shemechinam, the owner said, where's my shar? Amalei mace, and the shemer answers, it died. V'hu shenishbar I nishbar I niknav I avad. If he says it was broken or it got taken, it died. I'm sorry. Amalei mace. He says it died, but what really happened, well, it wasn't that it died, but rather it broke, or it was taken captive, or it was stolen, or it was lost. So obviously the answer of this is going to be, it doesn't make a difference. On all these things, the Shemechinam, whether it died, as he said, or one of these things happened, the Shemechinam is going to be pater. These are all Einsim or Gneva Vaveda that a Shemechinam is pater on. Or if the Shemechinam said it was Nishbar, it broke, Vushe Moise Nishbar Nignav, I avad. Or Nishba, he said it was Nishba, Vushe Moise Nishbar Nignav, I avad. Nigna v'hu shemesa nishba nishba. I avad v'hu I avad v'hu shemesa nishba nignav. So all these different, they just for some reason the Mishnah is saying all the different permutations of what the shemechinam could have claimed and what the balabayas, the owner, and what actually happened. But on all these cases, again, the shemechinam is pater on regardless, whether what he claimed or what actually happened. Mashbiachani, and then the the owner asked for a shvua, va'omer amen, and he acquiesced and he made a shvua. Potter, he's potter he's potter for both. He's potter to pay back, but he's also potter that he's even if it turns out that he's maida that he said what he said wasn't true. He wasn't really died. It wasn't really nishba. Whatever the case may be, it was really as it actually happened. He still doesn't have to pay keren chaimish v'yasham because regardless of what he said, he was going to be potter anyway. Heichen Shairi, or if he said, "Where's my Shairi?" Amala eni yadei matasach, and he denied that he ever borrowed it. V'hushem meisay nishba, I nignav, I avad. And then it turns out that really what happened, he did borrow, he was the Shaimer, a Shaimer chinam, but something happened to the animal. It was either an inus or gneva vaveda. Mashpiach haniva in Potter again. He's Potter because even though he claimed he never borrowed it. But anyway, it's gone, and he would have been potter if he would have told the truth. So if he's maida, if he makes a shvua and then he's maida, he's still going to be potter from the keren chayim sviyasha. Heichen shairi, where's my shair? Amalei avad. He said it's lost. Mashbiachani va'omer amen. He says, I want you to make a shvua, and he said he agreed to make the shvua. And then Edom come and say that the Shomer actually took it for himself. He stole it. Mishalem is at Karen. He only pays Karen. He doesn't pay Kefel because Kefel is only, as we're going to see, in a case where somebody where the Shomer claimed it was stolen and he stole it himself. The Torah says specifically, there's a pasuk that says that that's considered a Gneva and he pays Kefel. So there's no Kefel. And there's no Karen Chaimish V'Yasham because it was Adam that came and said it. He wasn't Maida. In order to be paid Karen Chaimish V'Yasham, you have to be Maida. Haida Me'atzmai, if he was Maida on his own, Mishalem Karen Chaimish V'Yasham. He pays Karen Chaimish V'Yasham, but again, he's not going to pay the Kefel. Heichen Shairi, he asked, "Where's my shar?" Again, still to a shemachinam. V'amaloi nignav, it was stolen. Mashbiachani v'amer amen. He says, "Hey, I needed you to make a shvua," and he agrees to make a shvua. V'edem idnai shegam. When Edom come and say that he stole it, mishalem tashlumei kefil. That we learn from a pasuk. That is a classic case of a shemer pikadon. If he claimed it was stolen and he actually stole it, and there are Edom, he pays kefil. But again, he doesn't pay ken chaimish v'yasham because he was not maida. Haida me'atzmai, but if he was maida me'atzmai, mishalem keren chaimish v'yasham. He pays a keren chaimish v'yasham, but he doesn't pay kefil. Amal echad b'shuk. Now we're just talking about a separate thing. Amal echad b'shuk. Heichen shari. Said to someone going in the shuk, "Where's my shar? Sheganafta. You stole from me." So it's stam. He's going to say, "You stole my cow from me." Who I'm a He said, "I didn't steal it." Edom, he didn't say shegamvu. And Edom come and say that he did steal it. Mishalem tashlumei kefil. He's a regular ganef, and he has to pay tashlumei kefil. Tavachu macha mishalem tashlumei abba v'chamisha. He'd have to pay abba v'chamisha. Raw Edom shemashmenu bain. So this is the interesting part. If Edom saw, if he saw this person who had stolen the shar, saw that the Edom were about to come, Amr ganafti avaloi tavachti v'loi macharti, and he admits quickly that he stole it before the Edom come be made. So someone who's ma'id b'knas is potter. So he's no longer going to have to pay the kefil. And certainly there's no keren chaimish v'yashim because we're not talking about a shemer at all. So Einim Mishalem Ele Karen. He's only going to pay Karen, and not only will he not have to pay kefil because he admitted to the kefil, even though he said I didn't pay arba. He said he's claiming he didn't pay arba v'chamisha, like we saw earlier. Once you cannot have dalad v'hei without kefil, and since he already admitted to the kefil, there's no, like we said, there's no gimel v'dalad. There's only dalad v'hei. So therefore, he's going to be pater from both of them. Amal Shoyl. Now we're moving on to a borrower. Amal Shoyl Heichen Shairi. Where's my shar? Amalai Meish V'hu Nishbar. So a Shoyl, as we know, is Chayev Einsim, and he says it died, which he's going to be Chayev for. V'husha Nishbar Nigna Vayavad. Nishbar V'husha Mesa Nishbar Nigna Vayavad. Nishbar V'husha Mesa Nishbar Nigna Vayavad. Nigna V'husha Mesa Nishbar Vayavad. Avad V'husha Mesa Nishbar Nignav. Mashbiach haniva amen potter. All these cases are going to be potter, whether it was an einus, whether it was a gneva v'aveda. Shail is chayiv on all of them, so he's chayiv in all these cases. So he'll have to pay obviously for the animal that he that he's mechayiv on, but he's potter. When what we're talking about over here, we're in Masechta Shavuos. We're only talking about the din of Karen Chaimish V'Yasham, so he's potter on the Karen Chaimish V'Yasham. Heichen Shairi, if he asks the Shail, where's my shar? Amale any day amata sach, and he denies having borrowed it. Vusha meis a nishba nignava nevad. Mashbiach and ibi ama amen chayiv. In that case, whatever it's going to be, if he claimed he didn't owe it, whatever happened, whether it was an einus or a aveda, if he later on if he makes a shvua and then he's maida, he's going to be chayiv ken chaimish v'yashim. So a noisha sachar v'asaycher, they are potter for einsim, and they're chayiv for gneva aveda. Heichen shairi, where's my shar? Amalei mace, which would potter him. V'husha nishba, and it really was a different type of einus. Nishbar, which is one type of einus. V'husha mace nishba was a different einus. Nishba v'husha mace nishbar. So any kind of einus, and it turns out it was a different type of einus. Or he said it was nignav. The Seicher had said it was stolen from me. V'husha avad, and it was really lost. Avad v'husha nignav. He said it was lost and it was really stolen. So on those things he's chayiv. Mashbiach ani ve'amen potter. He's going to be potter because what he claimed, whether it was whether what he did was an einus and what he claimed was an einus, or what he claimed was a gneva v'aveda, and it turns out it was a different gneva v'aveda, he's going to be potter if he later admits it from the Karen Chaimish V'Yasham. Mace nishba. If he claimed it died, it was some kind of einus, and it turns out that it was really lost or stolen, which the Shemus Sachar is chayiv for, mashbiach and chayiv. Then he tried to get out of paying, so then he's going to be chayiv. If he later admits, he's going to be chayiv for Karen Chaimish V'Yasham. Avad a nignav. If he said it was Avad and Nignav, so he has to pay. He's admitting he has to pay. And it turns out it was really an einus that he's potter. Potter, even though he lied, but since his lie wasn't helping him, he's going to be potter. Ze'aklal, and the Mishnah says this: potter. Anyone who changes, he says something that would be potter, and he says a different. He claims it was something that he's potter on, and he really would have been potter. What happened was he's really potter. Or he claimed something that he's chayiv on, and it's just a different chayiv that really happened. Or he says he claimed he was chayiv. He claimed he was chayiv, and he really is potter. They're all going to be potter from the din of Karen Chaimish V'Yasham. But if he really is chayiv and he tries to claim he's potter, then he has to pay. Ze'aklal, and the way to understand this, kala nishbul hakal latzmei chayiv lahachmer latzmei potter. Anyone who's trying to make things better for himself is going to be chayiv. He's trying to make it worse for himself, it's going to be potter. You're good to go on to try to get this done, Dr. Gemara. Man Tana Abba Shaimer. Who is the Tana of Abba Shaimer? Rav Nachman Avua Reb Meir. It's Reb Meir. Amalei Rav Nachman Ika Tana the Leslie Abba Shaimer. Everyone agrees there's 4 Shaimer. Shemachinim Shemeshachar and Seicher and Shayel. Amalei Hachi coming up. That wasn't my question. Man Tana the Amma Seicher Kneisa Sachar Dami. We're in our Mishnah we're conflating a Shema Sachar and a Seicher. So there's a different man the Amar who says that a Seicher is like a Shemachinim. Amar Rabba Reb Meir. Reb Meir is this man the Amar who says that a Seicher and a Neisa Sachar are the same thing. In fact, the Reb Meir Ipcha Shaminale. That's not Seicher Ketzah Mishalom. How does the Seicher pay? Reb Meir Aimek Shemachinim. He's like a Shemachinim. Reb Yehuda Aimek Neisa Sachar. So the Rabba Ravua Ipcha Tani. He has it the other way around. The Reb Meir is the one who says that a Seicher is like a Shema Sachar. Hani Abba Havi Shloisha Havi. In fact, the Gemara, why are we saying there are 4 Shemim? In our Mishnah, we only say 3. We say a Shayel and a Shemachinam and a Neisa Sachar and a Seicher are included together. So there's not 3 dinim, not 4 dinim, there's only 3 dinim. No, we're saying there are 4 types of Shemim, but they only have 3 dinim, but they're still called 4 Shemim. Amal Shemachinam. Heichen Shairi Amalecha B'Shok Amal Shemer. Heichen Shairi Amaleini Yedeh Matasach. We're just saying all the different examples in the Mishnah, the different types of tainus he could have had. Amarav, v'kulam turam mishuas shemrim, v'chayavim mishum shvuos bite. Rav says, even though they're not going to have to pay the Karen Chaimish V'Yasham, in those cases where we say that the person lied, let's say he said it died, Hashem Echinim, he said it died, and it was really Nishba or Nishbar or Nignap, whatever it was, he's potter on both of them. So he's potter from the Shua Shairim since he didn't change his status with his Shua, but he's still Mechayev for Shua's Bita. He lied about something. He said that it was one thing and it was really another. Ushmuel Lama Aptur Mishum Shua's Bita. He holds his potter from Shua's Bita. We're going to see in a minute what. Shmuel Sava Lesa Belahaba. We had this way back about a month ago. Shmuel says that in order to be mechayev for Shua's Bita, he's saying about what had happened previously. It has to be something that's possible to be a Shmuel Haba, and he can't make a Shmuel Haba about this Shmuel Shaimrim, about what happened to this animal. There's no such Shmuel possible, so therefore it's not considered a Shmuel's Bita. But Rav Savar Isa B'La V'Hein, Rav says you only need the basic minimum to have a Shmuel's Bita. You only need that it could be reversed. If he's saying that it died, it could be that he makes a Shmuel that it didn't die. We already had this like this. Someone makes a shvua that someone threw a pebble into the ocean, or he made a shvua that he didn't throw it. Rav Amerchayev Shmuel of a potter. Rav Amerchayev the Isa b'lavahein. Rav says all you need it should be mechayev and lavahein. Shmuel am a potter the lesa b'laba. You can't say he will throw, that this person is going to throw. He can't control what another person is going to do. So but he could make a shvua about the past. So therefore he says it's not a good shvua. It's not a shvuas bita. It's tzricha. Yesh minim baha. If you had only said it, in that case, in the Bryce, the Gemara, that Bryce that we said and that we learned earlier, that's where the person himself is making the shvua. But in a case where the Bezdin is imposing a shvua on him, right? When someone a shimer has to make a shvua, ema moidele l'shmuel. Maybe he's moided to Shmuel that it's not even going to be a shvuas bitui, as we're going to see in a minute what the reason for that is. Why a shvuas that's imposed from the outside is not a shvuas bitui? Because they're Rami, which is like Rami. The Rami calls shvuas shadayan mashmir saying chayiv alem mishum shvuas bitui. Whenever it's imposed by others, there's no shvuas bitui. So at the Gemara v'iyit mabaha, then we're going to get back to what the svara of Rav Ami comes from in a minute. But first we said it, we're going to continue out the cheshbon v'iyit mabaha, and if we had said it only over here, that's why we need both of them. Gufa. Amar Rav Ami kol shvuas shadayan mashmir say ein ba mishum shvuas bitui. Any shvuah that the dayanim place on him, there's no shvuas bitui. Shnema I nefesh kishish v'levata v'sosai me atzmai. A nefesh kisizva, when he makes a shvua levata v'sasayim about what he said, it's mashma that it came from himself, that he himself made a shvua. He decided to make that shvua. Kedei Reish Lakish, ki, when you use the word ki, mishtamis ba'armer l'shaynis, it could have three meanings. I deloy elo daha can be in any one of these three things. And when it says over here, a nefesh ki sishba, it means I sishba. If he makes a shvua, over here it's a lashon of I, and it means if he decides to make a shvua, if he decides to be the one to make the shvua, it's up to him. Then there's going to be a shvuas bita. Belazo I'm a kulam ptura mishvuas shaymer v'chayav mishum shvuas bita. Rabbi Elazar disagrees. He says they are chayav for a shvuas bita. Chutz me'nei yadeya ma'atasach, except for in the case where he denies owing it at all. The shayel ugneva v'aveda denies the sacha, or the I'm not saying if a soil, if he claimed that he doesn't owe at all, or the case of Gneva Veda Denoisa Sachar, where he actually he claimed it was an oinus and it was really a Gneva Veda, ubesaycher shuchayev shahari kafru mammon. In all the cases that all he's saying is in those cases where you kafir mammon and then you're going to be mechayev the shuas apikadin, then you're not going to be mechayev the shuas bita. You can't be mechayev two things. If once the Torah said it's a shuas habikadin, then the shuas habita doesn't apply. I really appreciate your coming with me to the